Tuesday, we have our bi-monthly segment with Christy Salters-Martin, the coal miner's daughter and International Boxing Hall of Famer, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, entitled Christy's Corner. So Christy's Corner here with us, exclusively brought to you by PB&J's Lunchbox. PB&J's Lunchbox is on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. And of course, they are also available to you with their food truck driving all throughout the community. So make sure you go out and see them in a place near you today and throughout the week. Christy Salters-Martin joining us today, as well as Pat Orr, the owner of PB&J's Lunchbox, as well as a boxing photographer of many years in this wonderful world of the ring. And today we'll have special guest and boxing matchmaker on the broadcast, Bottjer, will be joining us in just a moment. And we'll end out the show, as we always do, with the ingredients to success, proudly presented by the wonderful people at Avicoli's, and that is on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, right down the road from Liverpool High School. And we bring that to you every single Tuesday. So plenty of great conversation coming up inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', as we are here inside of Christy's Corner, picture in picture with Miss Christy Salters-Martin. And of course, on the phone with us, we have Pat Orr, boxing photographer, as I stated, and today's special guest, we are joined by Bottjer. So a lot of great stuff coming up, and a good morning to everyone this morning that is on the phone with us, as well as Christy here. So good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Pat. Everybody. Eric, I don't know if Eric's with us yet.
Yep, Eric's with us this morning. So Christy, I'll let you kick it off as we always do. Why was it important for you to have Eric on the broadcast this morning?
Well, it's very important to me because Eric is, in my opinion, and most of the opinion in boxing, he's like one of the last great minds of boxing. And by that, I mean historian. He knows so much about the past fighters that these young guys, they don't even care to know about the generation before them. But Eric puts it all out there. He writes awesome posts on Facebook and expresses about the different fights that are happening or have happened in boxing. And he's a friend of mine, and we've known each other for longer than probably that I should say, because I really want to think that I'm only 30, but I think I've known Eric for about 30 years. So it's an honor to have him on, and memorabilia collector. He does it all, and really, as crazy as the business side is, I think I'm true when I say Eric loves the sport.
Eric, your thoughts, after that intro that you just got from Christy?
Yeah, that just means I'm old. That just means I've been around a while. No, it's people. Boxing has a very horrible reputation, I think, in general, and much of it is deserved. But part of the reason why I do love this business is because of the people in it. Because most of the people that I meet in it are, at the very least, interesting people, and I dare say good people. And Christy and Pat are fantastic human beings, and I couldn't do better in my life than to work in a business where such people are. This is not a corporate world. This is not. It's Darwinism at its purest, for sure. But when you put aside the desire and the and the focus on making money, people are in this business because they actually love what they do, and you can't say that about a lot of businesses.
That's true.
Yeah, and when you heard from Christy, Eric, about you being somewhat of a historian, why did you fall in love with the sport of boxing? What is it that brought you to boxing to give you so much of a passion to care about it to this day? What kind of started it for you?
So, just in brief, I grew up in a world of government workers. My mom and dad worked for the government, so we traveled constantly. So when I was 10, I moved to South Korea. And South Korea was a third world country at that point. This was in 1975. And, a kid in the 70s spends a lot of time playing in the yard and watching television. I didn't have much of either of that because I lived in, on the economy, as they called it, in Korea. I didn't speak Korean. I looked very different from the Korean kids, so I didn't have a lot of social interaction. And I love to watch sports on television, and the Armed Forces Network could not afford to bring live sports in. And there was a fight at Yankee Stadium in 1976 with Muhammad Ali and Ken Norton, and I wanted to watch it badly, and I couldn't. So I saw a magazine on the military base at the store with those two on the cover. I thought the magazine would just be about that fight, so I bought the magazine, and lo and behold, it was about boxing, and it was about all these fighters from all over the world, like Carlos Monzon from Argentina and Roberto Duran from Panama, Emil Griffiths from the Virgin Islands, and different weight classes, and they didn't dress in uniforms like professional sports teams. They got to wear what they want. It was just fascinating to me. So I was just hooked. And then I realized when I started watching boxing on Korean TV, Saturday nights, Korean boxing, I just kind of understood what I was watching for whatever reason. And I just knew at that point, this is gonna be part of my world for the rest of my life. I didn't know what I was gonna do with it, but I just felt immediately comfortable in it.
Pat, you have something. I know you were talking with Eric off the air. You have something you want to speak with Eric about here this morning in Christy's Corner?
I don't know about that. We were talking about some Lucia Riker posters and maybe doing them as fundraisers and stuff like that. And he said that, they might not sell for a lot, but you don't know.
Yeah. You know what I think about Eric, and with Eric's story about seeing the magazine and like knowing that he was in love with boxing at that time, I'm going to almost bet that Eric still has that magazine in his collection of all this crazy memorabilia. So, Eric, do you still have that magazine?
Yeah, I got that magazine, and I got a bunch of photos, unfortunately. It's like people come into my house and they shake their head and go, God, what's wrong with you?
But Eric, for you, like on the historian side of things, to keep that magazine, to keep those pieces of history, to try to educate or send out information to this day to people about fights that are going on and different things that are happening. Why is it so important to you to be a part of that? Because I find it, pretty interesting and not coincidental that when you couldn't see the fight and you bought the magazine, and that gave you a bond and a link because it brought you information when you really wanted to have something, to now to buy a source of information and to now be a source of information. Why is that so important to you, for you to pay it forward, to be the thing that somebody could go to and say, oh, okay, now I know about this fight, I know about this fighter, I know about that history?
Well, I bought the magazine when I was 12 because, thankfully my mom instilled in me reading. I was a voracious reader even then, and I still am today. So that was a natural outlet for me to pursue, whether it was boxing or whatever I became interested in. And then what I realized studying the history of boxing as I grew up is boxing, and I am kind of a historian in general. I mean, history is the story of us. So I realize that boxing kind of mirrors our society. When you look at the fighters that have, in generations that are successful, it's because they are the impoverished and unheard sections of our world. In the 20s and 30s, for example, you had a lot of great Irish fighters, Italian fighters, Jewish fighters, and then as black fighters in this country got opportunities in the 30s and 40s with Joe Louis and Ray Robinson, they became prominent. And then as we moved into the 60s and 70s, Latin American fighters became prominent because they started getting opportunities when they didn't have them before. And then in the late 80s and 90s, Eastern European fighters. And now, women fighters are becoming very prominent. I mean, Christy was a pioneer in that, and I don't think she realized it at the beginning. But when people look back 100 years from now, the history of boxing, Christy's going to be like, the John L. Sullivan of women's boxing. She's going to be the first superstar, and that will never change. So when you look at boxing in any era, if you want to know who the unheard is, that's you'll see it immediately, and that fascinates me. Also, I covered other sports. I covered the 49ers one year when I got out of college. I had a job at a paper in California. I covered the San Francisco. It was a year in 1988 where they won the Super Bowl. And I love football. And I realized I want to do this for the rest of my life because these guys were not, as a whole, interesting to me. Boxers are fascinating. Boxers come from all different kinds. They all have different backstories, and it's not, and they're not whole human beings, most of them. They are, in certain ways, broken or missing, and boxing fills that space for them. It makes them feel worthy. And I remember, I think Terry Norris had this great quote. He had knocked out somebody, I forget who it was. And after the fight, he goes, "I expressed myself tonight." And that was a fascinating quote to me. And I don't think he realized how deep that was. This is how he can present him. This is his voice. He's not a great speaker. He's not highly educated. He doesn't have 140 IQ, and that's not being insulting. Neither do I. But that was his way. That was his genius, and he was. It gave him great joy to, ironically commit this horrible act of violence on another human being.
Yeah, in Christy, I mean, when you think about all the things that were just said, as well as, what Eric said about which is echoed through the chambers of boxing from so many different people, that you are the pioneer. You are that world of women's boxing. You're the one that kind of carried that torch, and there are people that have pieces of it and the history of it and the connection to it that work to build the foundation. But so many people consider you to be the face of what helped women's boxing to become what it is today. When you hear those words yet again, what goes through you?
Well, I unlike some of the women fighters today, appreciate and recognize the ones that came before me. I feel like I was gifted. You know what? I was in the right place at the right time. Don King gave me a great opportunity. Showtime stood behind me. Mike Tyson was happy that I was on his undercards. But the bottom line is I was also ready to take advantage of that opportunity, because and Deidre Gogarty as well. Had we gone out that night in 1996 and stunk up the show, women's boxing may or may not be where it is today, because Layla Ali said she started a fight because of seeing that fight on TV. Well, Layla, obviously, with the big name, she brought a lot of interest and viewers to women's boxing. Without Layla doing it, I mean, would it have just gone away in the early 2000s? Maybe. And then we wouldn't have Clarissa Shields or Katie Taylor. And Gogarty knocked down walls in Ireland, so Katie Taylor had an opportunity. You just never know. If without us being fully prepared to take advantage of that night, would women's boxing be?
And I know in the moment you don't obviously think about that. You don't think about the ripple effect maybe, but now that you look back upon it and you see that, like you said, not just you, but Gogarty as well, if you had not had a good fight, if it wasn't compelling, if it didn't bring people in, we may not be here. Hindsight is always 20/20. When you reflect on that, do you feel the weight of that? I mean, do you really feel like, oh my goodness, if we didn't have what we had, what would it look like today? Do you feel that now?
I'm proud, at that time. And Jim Martin also put in me that, women shouldn't be in a boxing gym. Just take advantage of the situation you're in. He always put even what I was doing down. So I have mixed emotions during the time of my career. Like, I would be happy, and then he would, I want to say shoot me down, but clearly he would always bring me back down. So I was always just tormented and confused about my place in boxing history. But now, all these years later, I do think that fight made a huge difference in how women's boxing is looked at today, the opportunities that are out there for women to box today. And hopefully, I get messages from young girls now that are starting to box and want some inspiration or want some words of wisdom. I don't know that I have words of wisdom, but I have words of experience. And I try to share and support. That's the main thing.
And you know, Eric, when you look at the matchmaking side of things, from being on the historian side, falling in love with it, boxers coming from all different places and having all different stories to tell, bring me into the matchmaking piece for you and how that all came to be.
Well, I didn't know what I wanted to do in boxing. I had no idea what a matchmaker was for years. But I would read about it, and my dad, who made a very wise choice, he forced me to go to college. I did not want to go to college. He goes, "So you're going to go to college." So I went, because I did what my dad said. I think that's generational back then. We all did. And yeah, so I said, well, I love to read, so maybe I'll learn how to write. So I went to journalism school, and then I realized, I could write about boxing. So when I graduated, I was a freelance writer. I wasn't making any money, and I met this fellow named Johnny Boz in New York in December of 1990 at a WBC convention outside of a hotel. And Johnny Boz knew who I was because he knew everybody in the business. And he took me to the Blarney Stone across the street, and he bought me a hamburger, and he goes, "You got to get out of writing." And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, "You're never going to make any money." And I was just, it was like somebody telling me Santa Claus was not real. I was so depressed instantly. And he goes, "You should be a matchmaker." I'm like, "What the hell's a matchmaker?" And he explained to me what a matchmaker was, and he said he was a matchmaker. And I'm like, "Oh, this guy lives in a Manhattan apartment. He must be making some decent money." I'm making $17,000 a year right now as a reporter for a weekly newspaper. So, but when I found out what matchmaking was, I just knew instantly, like, oh, I can do that. I can put together fights. I just had stupid confidence in the beginning. Like, it did not intimidate me at all to go into that part of the world. And I just learned. So it was a lot of fun for me, So it opened up boxing. I was a huge fan since I was 12. I was 24 then when I met Johnny. Boxing suddenly became totally different. It became like it was like discovering a new world within that world, and it was fascinating to me. And I could learn all over again about boxing as a business as well as a sport.
And I think knowing the history that you do makes it easier being a matchmaker, doesn't it? When you know the history of the fighters and stuff.
Over time for sure. But you have to, the one thing is, look, I'm a dinosaur, right? I really am. But you have to change with the times. The boxing is not now what it was when I got involved in it 33 years ago. It is not. It's different. Right. So there's a lot of people, and I know these people that I've gone, we all came up in the same era, so to speak. And some people haven't changed with the times, and they can't get work, and it's sad because it's like, they wish for the old days and the good days and so forth. And that's, every generation is like that. When I first got involved 30 years ago, there were older people that said the same thing. Oh, boxing is not what it used to be, and it's terrible, and it sucks, and this and that. It's like every generation goes through that. So is boxing a lot different now than when I was first involved? Yeah. Is it better or worse? It's debatable. There's some things that are better and some things that are worse. But It's just, the one constant, the cliche is change. And you got to change too. If you want to stay involved and you want to stay relevant and you love it, you just it is what it is. And if you don't like some of the change, then shut up and do something about it.
Well, and going off of that, where we've seen it change, I'd love to get everybody that's here with us this morning in Christy's Corner, myself with Christy Salters Martin, International Boxing Hall of Famer Pat Orr, boxing photographer, and Eric Bottjer, who's in the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame and a matchmaker here inside of this segment, proudly presented by PB&J's Lunchbox on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Christy, where have you seen boxing change for the worse and for the better from your seat?
Well, from the worst, and this is probably every generation. Eric can confirm this. I'm pretty certain fighters today don't want to fight. I mean, they just want to keep that perfect record. They want to fight against guys that are two levels below them. It's just tough making fights. Even at the top, I just can't understand. My mentality was, I want to be the best. I want to show everybody I'm the best. And I get it. There's so much money and there's so many people involved today. But the fighter needs to push that, hey, no, I want this fight. I want to see if I am all that in a bag of chips. So that's the negative. The positive, if you happen to be that 1 or 2% at the top, you are getting paid, and you're getting paid handsomely. And now women fighters, again, that those top women fighters are getting paid. So that is like the biggest positive, I think, is the purses for women fighters today.
Pat, for you in the photography world, what you've seen through your lens, good, bad, over the years?
I think it's always been challenging for photographers. I always had to fight for credentials. Went to the Bogle out of 2 fight in Atlantic City. They gave my credential to a man. And I waited. I missed the first 3 fights because I was waiting for my legit credential, that somebody gave to somebody else. Some places you go to are tough to get credentials. The communication isn't there. Like the Turning Stone, I never heard from their press people until the day of the fight that I knew I had a credential for the Hall of Fame weekend. If you can't go to the fights all the time, you're out of it. Okay, we don't know who you are. But I think boxing I think the corruption is within like the organizations. Maybe it's not who should get into the fights, but who they want to get into the fights. But it was always dealing with that. But as far as the shooting, the fights and stuff, I think like Eric says, you love what you do, and in the photographer world, there aren't very many photographers that make money in boxing. The ones that maybe shoot for DAZN or Showtime or HBO, they do, but there's probably less than 10, 15 photographers that actually make a living shooting boxing. And I think most of them shoot other sports too to compensate for it.
I appreciate that, and obviously sad. I don't appreciate the situation, but appreciate you sharing, Pat. Eric, before we let you go, 2 points that I'd love for you to touch on. Where you've seen boxing change for the better, and the worst is point 1. And the second one, being such a historian and a lover of the sport of boxing, do we need to do away with the fact that there are so many belts and literally have each weight class with 1 belt? I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so a friend of mine, Jack Overmeyer, who was a writer for many years on the East Coast, was well known in boxing, became like my best friend in the 90s when I moved out to the East Coast and started going to boxing. He said it best. He goes, look, there's one world, so there should be one world champion.
Yep.
Having multiple world champions is ridiculous because they're not. You're, by definition, at that point, you're not a world champion. You are what we call a belt. You are a belt holder. And
Yep.
if there's 4 belt holders and they're not fighting each other, nobody knows who the world champion is. So it's unique situation compared to the past now. If that situation in the past existed then, do I think fighters would have taken advantage of that to avoid competition? Yeah, of course I do. I don't think this generation of fighter was born cowardly. I just think, like many people, they're opportunists. And also, most of the guys that have held belts know within themselves they weren't the best fighter around because, by definition, there's only one. And they knew that they weren't it. So unless they were paid handsomely, they avoided the competition. And the product is worse because of that. So, yeah, these sanctioning bodies, and it's not that they don't do good things, and we can go into that in another conversation, they do, but overall, they have been the death of this business. They have drove people away. We have lost a generation of fans because the product itself is inferior. So that's my thought on the sanctioning bodies. And also, you have to forgive me. I noted my age earlier. I forgot your first question. What you've seen, Eric, when you say there's good and bad in this change that we've seen over time? So boxing is pure capitalism, and it's pure Darwinism, and that's good and bad. So the good part is it's become more so in this generation, and I think that's overall good because there have been a lot of fighters that have made a ton of money, and that's great, but they didn't generate a ton of money. You know, Don King, you know, he's a great example. I'm not going to pick on certain fighters, but he overpaid, and Christy Martin is not one of these fighters, by the way. He overpaid a lot of people. There's a lot of people that made many millions of dollars, especially heavyweights, many millions of dollars. If Don King hadn't been in the picture, they would not have made that kind of money. I've always believed that you should get paid what you generate, you know, and you know, a guy like Jake Paul, and I'm not just saying this because I do his shows, people are like, well, you know, he made $25 million for fighting an 8-round fight in his last fight. That's awful. It's like, yeah, but he generated that money. He actually produced that money. So regardless of what you think about his talent and the quality of the fight, he deserved the money, you know. And sadly, there's a lot of super talented fighters that can't generate, you know, the old saying, you can't draw flies, right? Sometimes it's because of their style. Sometimes it's because they do avoid competition for whatever reason. People don't find them compelling either as fighters or as human beings. And, you know, you should get what you bring, so to speak. And I think that's become more and more a thing in boxing, which I think is a good thing. It encourages fighters to promote themselves. It encourages fighters to say, hey, look, you know, you are a product. You know, you always complain about the promoter treats you like a product. That's actually a good thing because, you know, the more that they can sell you, the more money that you can make for yourself and your family, and the quicker you can get out of this business unharmed. So I think that's a good thing. The bad thing, it just relates back to the sanctioning groups, and again, there's just this lack of competition. The product that we are putting out now is terrible. Luckily, Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis did 1 million buys and generated a ton of money for themselves, and these other fighters have seen that and you notice Spence and Crawford pretty quickly signed those contracts like, oh, we want some of that money.
Yeah.
You know, money is a wonderful motivator.
That comes from Eric Bottjer here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in Christy's Corner as our special guest today. Eric, a matchmaker and a historian in this world of boxing, and young at heart, Eric, I'm going to say before we let you go. So, but I definitely appreciate your time. Would love to have you back on the show.
I'm walking around here like a peacock now.
Thank you, Eric.
Can I ask Eric one question?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Eric, we talked about the collector show earlier, and I just wanted to ask, like, you know, for the Boxing Hall of Fame weekend, everybody's complaining it's going to the Turning Stone and stuff. And I think on Saturday having the collector show at the gym, and then you had people on the grounds. I think that both of them suffered, and that I think it's time that with the events going to the Turning Stone that they bring the collector show onto the grounds to keep the people in one place and to bring more boxers on the grounds for the fans because they're missing out on that at the Turning Stone. Do you think that would be, like, the collectors would be receptive to that so they could be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, have more access to the fans? You know, I think the fans would be running and buying stuff when fighters are on the grounds and stuff to get signed. I think it would be a win-win for them because there just wasn't enough people at either event, and to bring them together would help, especially with the fans.
So that's great because it kind of ties into what I said earlier. It's like you have to be nimble and you have to change with the times. The collector show when the Hall of Fame in the 90s was going, it works at the high school because in Canastota, where the high school is, you also had Graciano's Motor Lodge, and you had the bar and the restaurant, and you had this. That's where people congregated, and they hung out, and they were there. Well, that's all gone. So trekking on Saturday morning to the high school it's not it's not like it was before because you had all those other attractions within walking distance, and all that's gone. So I think the show would do much better at the casino for sure.
Yeah, and the casino or the grounds. I mean, the casino, it definitely would do good there too.
You bring it where the people are at.
Yeah.
But it would be so expensive there, probably.
However they can work it, but I think you bring it to where the people are at. You don't try to bring the people to where the collector show is at if there's nothing else to go with the show.
Right.
There's a lot I think that they can do with it. They should, like I said, they've been having that collector show there. I mean, the first year I went was in '92. It was there then. It was there last year. It's nothing has changed, and I think there's some changes that can be made that be much more positive for not only the people that are trying to sell stuff there, but the people that love to go there and spend money.
Oh yeah, they look to that as that's one of their favorite parts of the weekend.
One of my favorite parts, absolutely.
And and the gym used to be packed.
Yeah.
You could barely get to things, and this year it wasn't packed.
Yeah,
it was sad.
Well, like you said, you gotta change is inevitable, and it's how you decide to attack change if you're going to ride the wave or be under the wave. So as always, definitely appreciate the open conversation, and Eric, loved having you on here today, and look forward to having you back soon.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, change is inevitable. I know that every time I look in the mirror. There we go.
Don't be so hard on yourself. We'll talk with you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. So
All right, guys, thank you. I had a wonderful time.
And thank you. We appreciate it. Appreciate having you. So that coming once again from Eric Bottjer here on the broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life inside of Christy's Corner, and proudly presented by PB&J's Lunchbox on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. And always happy to have Pat on the broadcast as well as Christy, and to have our special guests, and today with that special guest being Eric Bottjer, boxing matchmaker. So with that being said, we're going to continue the conversation here, and we have Pat on the line, a boxing photographer and owner of PB&J's Lunchbox, and of course we have Christy Salters Martin, which Christy's Corner is of course named after the pioneer of women's boxing. So a lot of things to talk about, and ladies, I think I want to stick where we just were with Eric first, and that being the belt conversation. The fact that you can have multiple world champions in the same weight class that don't want to fight each other, and if everybody gets a belt, then nobody gets a belt. And at the same time, I feel like we're living in an era where people want to know, well, why are the kids that come in to work for my business, why don't they work that hard? Why don't they care? Why don't they have drive? And I said, well, because the generation where everybody was given a trophy from 1st to 15th place is now growing up. And now those people think, well, all I have to do is show up and I'm the CEO. All I have to do is clock in for work and I'm the general manager. Because when I played soccer and I was picking my nose and rolling in the grass, I got the same trophy that everybody else got. So I think that, that kind of paralleling of society of everyone gets a trophy, and now we have so many belts. I think there should almost be a photo shoot. And Pat, as a photographer, maybe you should do this photo shoot as a joke, and we can put it on the cover of Sports Illustrated, where there's like two women or two guys, or like 2 or 3 women, 2 or 3 guys pointing to each other, kind of like that Spider-Man thing, where they're all pointing to each other holding a belt, like, are you the champion or am I the champion? Are you the champion?
Yeah, right.
I think that because it seems like a joke at this point. And Christy, I'd love to get your thoughts, and Pat as well, about the multiple belt, multiple world champion society kind of underbelly of what kids get, and seeing that as professionals now too, where there's more than one champion for the same thing.
Well, I know that I've had this conversation with Pat before, and you as well, Dan. We've talked about participation trophies, and if I remember right, I think, and I know my mother's listening, she's at Dallas this morning, so I love you. Hello, Mom. My great niece, Alma, she came home. I'm pretty sure it was Alma. She came home with a participation trophy, and I told my mom to throw it away because that is the worst thing in the world. The exact same thing you just said. we're getting everybody trophies, recognition, and oh, you're great. No, you have to tell kids they're wrong. They missed it. You screwed up. You didn't get an A on this test. You got an F, and you have to explain why. Otherwise, everybody just gets to be the best, and everybody can't be the best. We're not teaching how to win anymore, and we have to learn how to win at all aspects, not just in sports, but in life. But sports is a way of teaching winning, and you learn to win in sports, then you learn to win in life as well. So it drives me nuts. I can't understand it.
Pat?
I shot high school sports in Syracuse for probably 30 years, and I saw it at all levels. I shot modified up to varsity. I saw it at all levels, that the parents thinking the kids are the best, and that, and oh my God, how come they're not playing? And well, there's 15 kids before them that are better. I saw things like CNS was going to the state championship game, and one girl wanted to go to the prom instead. She went to the prom. It caused all kinds of controversies. You worked all hard all year. You guys were the best team there, and then they're at the championship game and they're missing one of their star players. Just the whole attitude of that, and just watching high school sports, you saw the trophy aspect so much, and the good players were good. The ones that were okay, they were okay. It didn't make them better because they got a trophy. They still didn't work hard to get better, and it was like the complacency. They were good with that. Oh, I got a trophy, and I think the drive to be better and to play in college and to try to be a professional, it's not there as much now. People expect that they're going to make an NBA team or a WNBA team, and you saw in the women's basketball how many top players got cut, and they were top draft picks. So they weren't at the level they needed to be to play professional yet, or they're gonna have to work to get on the floor. And I think that's where players of nowadays, they have a hard time because they don't have the work ethic that, back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there was work ethic.
And that doesn't just go in sports. That goes, across the board.
Oh yeah.
Work, jobs. You Pat, you can't keep. Your employees are calling in and they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. My wife, Lisa, her employees, I have a stumped toe. I can't come to work today. Are you kidding me? My dad never missed a day at work, and he was a coal miner. There had to be days he didn't feel like going to work, but he did. My brother, same thing. He was injured over and over and over. Never missed work. I just, again, I can't understand the mentality. And it'd be great. People want to talk about moving forward. I think going back and learning how a little bit of discipline in life, some manners. All that stuff's gone. Everybody just,
and pride. They don't have pride.
There's no pride. Thank you. Perfect word. Pride. No pride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
in the restaurant business, I have, nobody likes to do dishes. Well, in a restaurant, there's a lot of dishes. So my philosophy is everybody needs to do it. If you walk by and see there's dirty dishes, just wash them up. Don't wait until they get piled up to a pile that's so overwhelming that nobody wants to do it.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Pat, because I had a roommate down in Florida. There's three of us, and one of my roommates was by far no discipline, no respect, no responsibility. Just kind of yelled everybody into doing their job, right? I'm going to tell you to clean up after me, and I'm going to scare you into it. So there's three of us there. So there's the dirtiest. There's the one who you think is clean that's also dirty. And then there's me, who was taught to clean dishes when I was 10 years old and I couldn't even see over the sink. So the irony of life, and in a lot of cases, people that are watching and listening around the world can probably understand what I'm saying here, is that the person that complains the most is usually the one who's the worst at it in certain cases. And so my one roommate, who was a slob, that was trying to scare everybody into washing his dishes, he says to us, I'm instituting a new rule. And that rule is that you have to clean up your own stuff and everybody leaves the stuff that's not theirs. So if you dirty something and you don't clean it, the other two people don't touch it and they leave it there, so you have to look at it. And I said, okay, that's fine. Are you sure you want to do that? And he was like, yeah. Now, we had about 52 glasses and God knows how many plates. This kid in 2 weeks used every glass we had for the most part, and there was a pile of dirty, disgusting, stuck together, just nasty dishes and cups and all that. And I looked at him and I went, so we're only cleaning our stuff, right? And he's like, yeah. I said, okay, well, in 2 weeks, you've dirtied the entire kitchen. Do you get it now? Like, do you understand we've been cleaning up after you for like over a year now? Because in order for me to use a cup, I have to break the rule and clean one of your 52. And so I feel like that's society now, though. There's so many people saying, well, I'm going to walk by this cup and I'm going to hope when I come back that it's clean and ready for me instead of just cleaning the cup. But that comes from being in a place, if kids are not taught to fight for something, if 1 + 1 isn't 2, it's whatever you want it to be in school now because we can't tell anybody no. If that's the world you're living in, well, let me tell you something about mathematics. 1 + 1 is 2, and it's been 2 for a very long time, and it's going to continue to be 2. And so if 1 + 1 is 5, well, then my bank account just got bigger today. So, I mean, I think there's certain things in life that don't change, and math, history, you can't erase it. But I feel like we're kind of in a place right now, and we talk about it in sports, but sports always emulates life and vice versa. We're living in a place where if you give everybody a trophy, if you pat everybody on the head, and if you tell everybody they're the same, then the people that are working their tails off and not getting the recognition are thinking, why am I working so hard when I can just sit here and do nothing and get the same trophy? And then at the same time, the kid that's sitting there doing nothing is never pushed. So the people that are working hard and getting after it and are advantageous are being punished, and the people that are doing absolutely nothing are being rewarded. And that's scary to me.
That's very scary.
Absolutely.
Like Christy's face.
If you're the one that has the drive inside of you, I'm going to do this. Like, if you give me a list, I'm going to accomplish that list. I mean, I just have to. That's just what you do. And we all know people that would take that list and pick 1 or 2 things that they may accomplish or they may not. But still they think, oh, well, I tried. Trying doesn't get it. You have to put yourself out there. You just have to do it. Bottom line, you just have to do it. And it's just, that's not rewarded anymore.
Christy's face when I just said all of that, the people doing nothing get something and the people that do something, get the same thing. So it's like, why fight so hard? Christy's face, and I don't know if she knows what she did, but the face that she made on the screen was like every face of every person that's ever fought for something and is scared of today's society. You had the perfect face of like, what have we become? Like that. I mean, what is it now? And Pat talks about it all the time. She'll tell somebody, hey, this is how we make a sandwich. And they're like, no. What do you mean? No, you work for me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'll find a different way to do it. You'll find a different place to work. And, yeah. But I think that's where we are in society too now, is because people have been given free money. They've been told they don't have to do. You took a bunch of people that had no responsibility and you paid them. So now they really have no responsibility with money involved. And so I feel for Pat, and I feel for myself when I'm looking for interns to different people. I feel for Christy if you're looking for someone to help you out with different events and things going on, because we're now in a society where those people, like I said, they were given the participation trophies. They're now older. And if you tell them, like, if you don't do what I ask you to do, I'm going to fire you, they shrug their shoulders and go, all right, I'll just go on unemployment and I'll make more money.
Yeah, and I think, I think that the problem with the generation that's coming up, they're so confident, they're overconfident. And the best advice I can give anybody who's going to apply for a job, employers are not hiring you for your opinion of how they should run their business.
True.
And they built what they have by hard work and dedication, and they have a system, and, you know, I have recipes, I have certain ways I want them made, and I think that, you know, if they could just go in and do their job and learn, and be proud of the work they do, you know, if a sandwich is supposed to look a certain way, make it look that way, because that's what people are expecting. You know, I've had people call and complain about food that didn't look like a picture I had, and that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
So, you know, people eat with their eyes, and I always try to tell my employees that, you know, consistency is what builds business, and if you're not consistent and people don't get the same thing every time the way they want it, they're going to write bad things about it. And unfortunately, the internet, they can kill businesses right now. You know, the good reviews, the bad reviews, they're about equal, you know, and the good reviews should be higher. You know, you don't want the bad reviews. You want the good ones. You want people to say, oh, my God, every time I go there, the food is the same. And that's the important part. So paying attention to details is something that I think people have a little hard time with, but in the restaurant business, it's like live or die by it.
Yeah, you know, and Christy, I mean, to go off of this conversation we're having on Christy's Corner, proudly presented exclusively by PB&J's Lunchbox here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, bi-monthly, every other Tuesday, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Christy, as a fighter, if you never lost, right? If they gave you, every time you got in the ring, you won. And like Pat's talking about that overconfidence, if you never were challenged, what do you think that would have done to you? And secondly, what do you think it would have done to you if you're there with Gogarty or whoever, or Layla, in the ring, and one of you wins, and they hold up both your arms and give you both a belt?
Okay. First of all, every time I fought, I tried to win. It was important for me to win. Today, I don't know. Athletes or fighters, maybe, no, not even all fighters try to win. Not even all fighters try to win. And that is what I and you and Pat, we can't understand, because we want to be winners.
Yeah.
If after fighting Gogarty, they would have raised her hand too, like it would have taken all the energy, all the air out of me, because I feel like I won. Against when I fought Layla, if they would have raised my hand too,
yeah.
I would have been embarrassed. I would have been ashamed. Don't give me something I didn't earn. These kids today, not just kids, young people today, they don't give a crap if they earn it. They just want it. And there's a difference. I mean, if you don't have to work for something, you just get handed, you don't appreciate it. You don't take care of it.
And what's, I mean, and I say this a lot, but what's right over my shoulder in the studio, there are 3 football championships because I won our fantasy football league. If I got 2nd place or 5th place or 8th place, I don't want a trophy. And there's one, and this is probably, of anything I've ever done in sports, the best that I've ever received. And it's so tiny. But here's the thing, too, is like, people look at it and say, oh, that's a small trophy. It's my championship trophy. It's just what they gave us that year. It's not some big, massive cup that I can't fit in my studio. And in 1999, we won the championship, and it was the only time I've ever been voted MVP, or that I ever won MVP. And so I was MVP of the playoffs. My team won the playoffs, and it was the last year that I could be at this specific camp out in Marcellus. So this means so much to me, and it sits right here with me. Now, I have another trophy that was like, hey, thanks for being here for the camp. That's not in my studio. I have a baseball trophy that I don't even know what it's for, and that's not in my studio. And because I don't want participation stuff in my studio. If you go and you look at it, well, what is this? This is when we won the championship. I was around 14, 15 years old. I still remember hitting threes in the corner outside because we had to play outdoor, indoor, which made it even harder. But being the MVP one time in my life was a fantastic accomplishment. If I was voted MVP with 80 other people because everybody's an MVP, I would walk out of the gym. Because there's no way in hell that there were times where I deserve to be MVP. But there are times where I should be MVP. So, I totally get it, and I keep it over my shoulder as a reminder that when you want something, you fight for it, and you don't always get it. But when you do get it, it makes it so much sweeter the other 95 times you fought for it. Pat, you had dogs barking. Can we still hear you?
I
do. So the dogs are agreeing. The dogs are in agreement. I saw Champ earlier today. And we have to, before we get into Bob Huggins, because I want to go from a warm and fuzzy dog to obviously warm and fuzzy Bob Huggins. I'm kidding. So, but to go from one to the other juxtaposition, Christy, Champ has traveled in a few months of his life more than most people have traveled their entire lives. How is Champ as a world traveler? And what have you learned about Champ's ability to travel? And has traveling everywhere made him a diva? I want to know.
Champ is a sweetie. He's definitely been a positive in my life. Keeps me company. He has been, in his short little life of 14 weeks, he has been to North Carolina for an event, stem cell study event. He's came to New York, Syracuse for the Boxing Hall of Fame for a Showtime fight that he made Showtime. And then from there, we went to Nashville for another fight. And next week, we'll actually be in Florida in St. Pete at the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame for one of Christy Martin Promotions fighters, Tony Aguilar, fighting on the show. So he has been traveling, as you said, more than most people probably. And he's doing pretty good for a little guy, but he hates being in that bag. He'll lay in it as long as I keep it unzipped.
Yeah.
But some flight attendants are not as nice as others, and you have to zip him in there. You have to keep him in. Some of them let me hold him. So he's doing pretty good for a little guy.
Well, and I can appreciate that. And like I said, from warm and fuzzy to warm and fuzzy, Bob Huggins, right? Just like Champ, not really. So, so you're from West Virginia, and Bob Huggins, West Virginia head coach for a very long time. I read up yesterday that there's some really strange occurrence that happened in a not great way in the Bob Huggins timeline. And that is that when Bob Huggins was at Cincinnati, 16 years into being at Cincinnati, he had an issue with driving while under the influence of alcohol. 16 years into being at West Virginia, he gets a DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol. So there's this strange 16-year window, trouble at Cincinnati, 16-year window, trouble at West Virginia. Christy, I'll start with you, and Pat, I want to get your thoughts as well. There's not just the DUI, but also the public anti-gay slur that he stated. And so this has been a rough few weeks in the Bob Huggins world, as he was fined for what he said, but kept at West Virginia. And then the DUI, and right after that DUI, the DUI was Friday night. I think the news, I saw it on Saturday, and then he was gone by Sunday. So, and he decided to resign. And normally when I see that, and this is just my opinion, this is not me saying West Virginia said, this is my opinion. But normally when you see something bad happen publicly, like a DUI, and then somebody resigns on their own accord, I feel like it's the school saying, hey, we can fire you, or you can leave on your own merit. You choose. And I think like when we see resign in situations like that, it's probably a push out. But Christy, I'll start with you here. What are your thoughts coming from West Virginia? West Virginia Mountaineers. You were just talking about how Jesse Edwards from Syracuse went over there. Now Jesse doesn't have a coach. The Bob Huggins story, from anti-gay slur to DUI to now he's not the coach, 935 wins. He's got the third most ever. And I think he's right. Yeah, I think he's the third most ever, right? Roy Williams is close to him. Coach K is first, and Jim Boeheim is second in all-time Division I men's basketball wins. And I never thought I'd see him out of the game, but now he's out of the game.
Well, being from West Virginia, playing at West Virginia University, the state and the school, of course, loved Huggy, and everybody was happy to have him. But I was surprised that after the I think it was the Catholic, the Irish Catholic, faggots, the whole, all those things that he said, not once, but twice. I was surprised at that point that he didn't lose his job, to be honest. And probably any other place besides West Virginia, he would have lost his job. But then with the DUI, I agree 100%. The school probably gave him the option to resign or be fired. And I'm sure that somewhere in his contract, there's some kind of payout that if you resign or if you're fired, you'll get paid X. And if you're, the other, you'll get paid Y. So I'm sure he decided to leave on his own. I think all of us Mountaineer fans have known for a long time that Huggy he likes to have a drink or two or 10. So I feel bad for the athletes that are there. There have been not just from Syracuse, but other athletes, basketball players had transferred into West Virginia. So I think next year seems so positive and so exciting for us fans. But now, as quickly as those guys transferred in, they can transfer out. Where are we going to be as far as the basketball team? And Huggy, maybe he goes away for a while. I don't know how old he is. Maybe he goes away, he gets rehab, whatever, and he reappears somewhere else. We'll see. I wish him the best. I hope he can get some help and, continue on with a positive life.
He's 69 years old, and, I kind of see this maybe as a Rick Pitino. Well, we'll see. I mean, Rick Pitino, you're right, he went away, right? Caught cheating on his wife, this, that, and the third. And he disappears, and then all the issues with Louisville, and apparently they brought Ladies of the Night onto campus and did all this stuff. And so we hear about all this, and then we see the firing of Rick Pitino from Louisville, and then he shows up shortly after at Iona. And I said, he's just going to a smaller school to bide his time. And once he feels like it's enough time that people have gotten over it or don't care or whatever, he'll be right back in it. And where is he now? He's at St. John's, 71 years old, coaching, and he'll probably coach for another decade, knowing Rick Pitino and what the thoughts are when I think about. I don't know if he'll ever stop coaching. Pat, Bob Huggins. I mean, he's been in basketball forever. And he's become synonymous with West Virginia. I feel like in a lot of ways, West Virginia probably could have put a statue up of him and it would have made sense on campus. Now, after an anti-gay slur more than once and a DUI and having trouble with alcohol in his past, what are your thoughts on the legacy of Bob Huggins?
Karma's a bitch. It's 2023. The anti-gay slurs and stuff are just, they're not needed. The ones that make anti-gay slurs end up with a DUI and losing a, multi-million-dollar contract at West Virginia. Was it worth it to voice your opinion out loud? Probably not. Will he come back and coach? Probably. It's a very forgiving job. You make mistakes and you do this. I really can't think of a coach that lost a job because of something stupid they did where they didn't end up coaching again. Everybody makes a mistake. They can get a second chance, but if he does it again, he really shouldn't get any more chances. DUIs are pretty scary, and I would, he's lucky he didn't get in an accident and kill somebody.
And the truth is, when these guys, Pat, I hate to interrupt you, but like you're making as much money as Huggy's making. Why don't you if you want to go out and get drunk with your buddies or by yourself, have somebody drive you. I mean, you have all this money, pay someone to drive you.
Yeah. And it's the arrogance when people do make that much money that they feel they can do anything and they're safe. Nothing's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And usually when it does happen, it's not them that really suffers. It's other families that suffer that have lost loved ones and stuff. I think it's really just an arrogance thing. I think, you make all that money and you get all that publicity and you get a little cocky and you think you can do things that you shouldn't, and you think you can say anything you want. And that's the hurtful part of America. There's a lot out there like that, and it's hurtful.
Well, and I do want to kind of stay with this point for a second before we get into rapid fire. And Pat, I'll stay with you on this. When in society, I have this conversation almost daily, and it's difficult because I feel like we're living in a society in America right now where people say, you have to accept me, but I don't accept you. And I'm so confused by it. I'm confused by people saying, well, you're Catholic. I hate Catholics, but you have to accept me for being Muslim. Or I'm straight, and I don't want to accept you for being gay, but you have to accept me for being straight, or vice versa. I've always lived in a world where whatever religion you are, whoever you love, however much money you have, whatever your nationality is, whatever your background is, whatever language you speak, if you're a good person, then we're cool. I'm good with you. The only people I'm not good with are people that are mean, or people that use religion or sexuality or race or gender as a way of attacking other people or discriminating. When people use it as a springboard to do a bad thing, I'm not for that. I guess I struggle in 2023 that if I try to give everybody a chance, why men in 2023 feel like they're being attacked, why women have felt like they've been attacked, why people that are African American descent have not felt good for 400 years, why people that are gay in certain states feel free and people that are gay in other states feel like they have to hide. I guess I'm trying to understand this land of the free when it doesn't seem like everybody's free. And I'd love to get your thoughts.
I definitely agree with you that, not everybody is free. When I look at people, everybody's equal. We all get dressed and eat and everything all the same way. I don't look down on people because they may not have as good a job as me, or other people, they may not make as much money. So it's hard for me as that type of person to understand when people aren't nice to other people just because they're gay or black or Mexican or Chinese. It doesn't make any sense to me like that. It's I definitely go by the person, the personality, the way they treat people, the way they talk to you. I'm a nice, kind person, and I kind of gravitate to those kind of people too. And I try to stay away from the negative, mean, bullying people, because I don't agree with it. I wish the world was kinder, but it's not going to be that way.
Christy, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Not only a world where not everybody's treated equally, but that we're living in a society in America right now where people are being, to me, one of the worst sins that a human being can commit is hypocrisy. And we're living in a country right now where not only is there division, but there are people saying you need to take me as I am, but I refuse to take you as you are. And I find that, and that's on all sides of the coin, I find that very hard for me to have somebody tell me, hey, I'm different than you, accept me. However, I don't accept you. I was raised that you should never ask for something you're not willing to give.
Well, Dan, I think this, being a strong, if you are a strong Christian, if you are a true Christian, number one says one of the, we are not supposed to judge other people. So if someone is different, it's not up to me or you or anybody else here on this earth to judge what someone else does, who they love, whatever, race, religion. It's not our position to judge anyone. And so that's the bottom line. And to me is just don't judge anybody, be accepting, be open. If I don't like what you're doing, then I need to just remove myself from your environment. I don't have to talk with you. I don't have to be part of your world. I can go over here and do my thing, but I don't need to poo-poo what you're doing. That's the way that I try to, I don't agree with a lot of people that I deal with, but I still deal with them on a professional basis. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that don't like what I do or how I am or this or that, but we have to work together.
Yeah, and I think that's what we forgot. I think what we forgot in life is to accept that we're different and work together. And I do that all the time with my friends. We'll disagree on something. We'll have a conversation. They're not yes men. I'm not a yes man. Yes women, whatever you call it. And we'll talk. And sometimes we'll disagree and we'll hear each other's point. And then we'll go get lunch. And I was like, call Congress, because we just figured it out. We just totally disagreed and we're breaking bread together. But my name, Daniel, literally translates to God is my judge. And I take that as my name means I don't have the right to judge anybody. My name is a reminder that God is the only judge. So I don't judge people. And I feel judged at times, but I don't judge people because I feel like we're different. And I take people on a case-by-case basis. If you're a good person, we're cool. If you're not a great person and you treat people poorly, me or somebody else, we're not cool. And I have blood relatives in my family that treat people some kind of way, and they're not part of my family anymore. Because, there's somebody that could be cool with me, but you disrespect my mom, we're not family anymore. And you don't apologize for a decade. I don't hold a grudge. I wish them the best. I pray for them every day. But I'm not going to be around people that hate on a little level or on a big level. Because to me, hate, what do they say in that Snow White movie? Hate is like a drop. That if your heart is white and you drop one bit of hate, one little piece of dye in it, it turns your whole heart that color. And so I think we have to remember that one drop of hate, it's one drop too many. And with that being said, we're going to play rapid fire. So we go from boxing to trying to figure out American society to now playing rapid fire. and so Pat, you're going to start rapid fire. You're going to ask me, I'm going to ask Christy, and Christy's going to ask you, and then we're going to come back around. So what is your question for me, Miss Orr?
So I'm going to go back to the Boxing Hall of Fame weekend.
Okay.
Because it's the first time I've seen you there. And I want to know what your thoughts were as far as the excitement level, the access level, the atmosphere of the casino. Does it work for you?
Yeah, so I appreciate it and thank you. I would say the Friday night fights were awesome. I thought that was really cool. I walked into that event center and the lights are off and I felt like I was transported to Vegas. And I'm not saying that. I don't say things just to say things. When those lights were off and I see when you see a ring and you see the lights and it looks good and it feels good, to me, it's like, am I in the Garden? Am I in upstate New York? Am I in Vegas? Where am I? Because to me, when you see Showtime and you see that ring and you just have this event the way that you have it, I mean, you got Christy Martin up to my left. You got, Roberto Duran over my right shoulder. You got, Ray Mercer, I think, behind me. To me, that was so cool. So first, I took a picture of the ring from my seat and I sent it to my mom and I was like, I called her. I was like, I never thought that I would be here. Like, I never thought that I'd get to do something like this. And we had a really special moment as my mom and I have many of those. And she was, I always tell her, I was like, Mom, I'm working, I'm working to be successful. I'm getting there. And she's like, no, honey, you're there. You already got there. You got there a long time ago. So that was so cool. And I'll say this, and I know I've said it to other people, and Christy's going to hear it, but when you walk into a match and you're by the ring and Christy Martin is sitting in the building and she gets up when she sees you and she talks to you and she's like, I want to speak to you. And like when she did, I remember standing there going, I always thought I would be the kid in the stands going, who's Christy Martin talking to? But I'm the person that Christy's talking to. So this is insanely awesome. And so, things like that are cool. And yeah, so I thought that was fun. And I loved what Christy said, which I guess we could say now, no statute of limitations. I had my badge on, she had her stuff, and she said, walk with us until you can't. So so I thought that was cool. And I was like, man, maybe if I'm holding champ, I'm like, I could go to my Hispanic side and I could start speaking Spanish and tell them that I'm just the aide for champ. I'm here with champ. So, yeah, I'm the dog sitter. And so get into my, my Spanglish, but yeah, so I loved that. And then Saturday could have been better. And it goes off of the point of what you said. There was no rhyme or reason to where the fighters were going to be. And so, former fighters that are now Hall of Famers, some of them not in the Hall of Fame, they're walking around the Collector's Show. They're walking around Canastota. But there was no rhyme or reason. And I remember talking to Pat, and Pat was like, stay there. Wait, come to the Collector's Show. No, wait, go back there. No, wait, come here. And it was like, because they're here and they're not here and they're here. So I think Saturday could have been a lot better of this is where they're gonna be, and we're gonna, and I agree with Pat that instead of 3 places there's 2. So you pick a place for the Collector's Show, then you do something between the Boxing Hall of Fame and you do something with Turning Stone probably. And I still want to involve the high school. I don't want to take the high school out of it, but you find a way to move the boxers from one place to the other. And you say, from noon to 4, half of the boxers are going to be at Canastota at the Hall of Fame, and the other half are going to be at Turning Stone. And then from 5 to 8, they flip. And so you do something like that. And so, yeah, that I think just a little more direction could go a long way. And then Sunday, I thought it was great. What I thought was so weird is that by the time the boxing induction itself was over, I was the only media person there. And now I'm not going to be mad about it because yay me, but I just remember looking around going why are people not here to cover the induction? And it's not like I'm begging to have other people there because I don't believe in competition. I compete with myself. That's my competition. But I kind of just looked around and I said it to Pat. I'm like, am I the only person? So I guess I just found that to be a little bit interesting. But as far as the event itself, I loved that I could just walk up to boxers and sit down with people. I loved the food. I loved the banquet because of the personalities. There was a lot of people on stage that nobody prepared for what they were going to say. And I thought that was, oh yeah, they didn't know they were speaking, but I'll tell you what, some of those boxers that got up and spoke, I was like, damn, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in 19 years. So I was from, I had a front row seat. So yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of good. I had a ton of fun, and I wanted to go back so bad that I brought my dad there for Father's Day. So, if that answers your question. Let me see here. All right, Christy. Okay, Christy. You have to make Pat and I superheroes, pre-existing Marvel characters. Who do you choose for Pat and who do you choose for me? Like Pat becoming Captain America, me becoming the Hulk, whatever. So you have to pick a Marvel character that you associate with us, and you have to tell us why.
Oh my. Well.
Oh God.
Oh my. Oh my. Okay, so Superman, is Superman a Marvel character?
DC, but you can pick that. That's fine.
Yeah, do Superman. Okay, I'm gonna say Superman, Dan, for you because you are Superman. You have you're getting stuff done. You're helping people. The three of us have just joined to be an even stronger team outside of Christy's corner. And you're just a good dude, so you deserve to be Superman.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Pat is going to be Catwoman. Is Catwoman a Marvel comic? Or is DC too?
DC as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Catwoman, and I'm going to say Catwoman because Pat is like, she's that person that's always there. And I think this is more on a cat, not really on Catwoman. But she's a person that's always there, like a cat, And I don't really like cats, but they are always there. Like they're creeping around. And like right when you need them to appear, and that's Pat, right when you need her, like she's there. She's always there. And it has helped me so much. I'm so grateful that I've had a relationship with Pat for, oh my gosh, a long time, since the early 90s. So
96. Yeah.
96.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't like cats either, though.
I know. I'm not. So yeah, but
with the sentiment of always being there, and I've never been called Superman before. I will proudly wear that S on my chest, which stands for hope, mind you, folks. So I love that. Thank you, Christy. That was a very big honor. I'm going to puff out my chest a little bit more today, I feel like. So
I'm going to try to find you one of those Superman t-shirts. So the next time I see you, I'll have a Superman t-shirt.
I will be ready to wear it. Absolutely. I will wear that. If you're going to call me Superman, then I will wear the t-shirt. Absolutely. It's a big honor for me, especially of my history growing up and believing in the fact that you could be a superhero if you want to be. So Christy now gets to ask Pat.
All right, Pat, here we go. This is of course a lie, but I just won the lottery last night, like $250 million. And we're going to retire. Where are we going to retire to? And what are we going to do?
Let's see. Retirement for me would be, I'd have to go to Key West. It doesn't mean I'd stay there all year long. I'd probably have to have 2 or 3 places.
Okay.
Right.
Stay away from the hurricanes and tornadoes and all that. And, but every place would have to be some type of water, a nice deck, covered deck in case it rains, with cocktails, good food, and relaxation.
I like that. And I will be taking care of Champ.
We'll all be taking care of Champ.
Yeah. Champ will be sitting there drinking his Miami Vice while everybody else is making sure that he's all right. So, all right, let me see here. So now, Pat, you get to ask Christy.
I get to ask Christy. Okay.
Yep.
I went to a lot of your fights. I didn't go to all your fights, but I went to a lot of them. All of them had the same atmosphere. It was a good atmosphere. It was a fight atmosphere. Sometimes when you go to fights now, you don't have that atmosphere. I wish I had gone to the Cade Taylor fight because that was just incredible to watch. But if you could pick one super fight with a guys match and a women's match, but the women's match will be the main event, just because. Who would you like to see? And they don't have to be current fighters; they could be past fighters or whatever. But who would you like to see those two fights be?
Mike Tyson versus Tyson Fury would be the co-feature for Christy Martin versus Lucia Riker.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. But you know, it's like we don't get to see those anymore. And I think like in the future of boxing, I think there should be a main event and co-event that would be women and men. So that it'd be the top of the women's class, the top of the men's class. So that, you know, you don't have a women's bout like the six bout, you know, just to appreciate the caliber of fighters that are out there. And if they would just fight each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they need to fight each other. I mean, if you want to be a champion, you got to fight. Well, I mean, there's so...
That would be a nice promotion, too, because you're doing the women's and the men's, and you're growing each sport by having, you know, heavyweight fights like that.
Well, they're so big. They're so big. You know what I mean? Christy, can I ask a 1A to this that Pat asked you? Why did you choose Lucia Riker?
Because that's the fight that, in my time, so many people wanted to see, and it never came about because Lucia had an injury. And you know what? We want to talk about earlier a lot. We talked about wanting to be the best. Understand to be the best. Well, the truth is, and I can't count Layla because Layla was a lot bigger. I took the fight. I took the challenge. But Lucia is my size. We didn't fight. Do I think I'm better than her? Absolutely. Do I know I'm better than her? No, because we didn't get the fight. So if I could back it up and run it again, of course, I would want that fight to happen so I could know, not just think that I was the best in my time.
Right.
Is it wrong of me that I want to see this stuff right now? I mean...
Well,
people wanted to see it for years.
I know.
That was the fight. That was what you wanted to see. You know, it was going to be the $1 million payout. It was going to be big, and you know, it just never happened. So, you know, you can make it happen now, but it's you know, it's part of sports.
Yeah.
If Lucia and I were like in our primes right now, it would be huge. It would be huge. I think.
It would definitely be huge. It was going to be a moneymaker.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, Christy, what's your question for me?
Okay, Dan, let's see. If you were some other profession besides what you're doing, what would you do?
Good question.
What was plan B?
Yeah, so I think it's funny. It's like there's no plan B. They're just all plan A's. And there's just a bunch of them. And so sportscasting, I will be a sportscaster of 20 years in November because I started when I was like 17, 18. And then I love that I own my business, but if I had to pick, there's a new show that we do called Two Mics, No Filter. And Pat knows a lot about my crazy relationship stories, and I've released a bunch of them onto the world, and I say a lot of things, and I hope people understand comedy, and I'm just trying to make, you know, levity over like really bad situations. But I compared some of my ex-girlfriends to Hannibal Lecter, and and I said what did I say? It's a show that's coming up. I said something like most of them were in straitjackets and muzzles, not because they couldn't speak, but because they bit too much. And so I, it's my way of kind of just finding the comedy in a lot of really tough stuff that I went through. And so I think stand-up comedy is a piece of it. But, you know, I was talking to my dad about it, and he's like, to be a comedian today, like, does anybody, you know, we all think things are funny, but can we laugh anymore because everyone's offended? And, you know, can people just take a joke? And I mean, I only speak on personal experiences. I never give names of people. And, you know, because it's not for an attack, it's more to show people like you can laugh through your pain, and there is life on the other side of it. So, you know, I mean, I would say stand-up comedy. I would say screenwriting. I definitely think I'm the only person that should be writing The Amazing Spider-Man 3, because I think I have a story that would change the entire game and would be something that nobody has ever seen from Spider-Man in the history of Spider-Man ever on a screen. So just letting you know, Sony. Sony. And then I would also say probably some music. I've sang my whole life. I started that when I was 3. A lot of people don't know that. And I want to do like one song with my mom on a stage somewhere. Like I'd love to tour like for a few months, even if it was just one time, and to bring my mom out at the end of the tour and sing with my mom would be pretty cool.
That'd be cool. Do you do the national anthem?
I've never done it. I would. I've never done it before. I think I had somebody say like, "Hey, maybe you should do the national anthem," but I've publicly sang, but I've never done the national anthem before.
Because I know that is like one of the hardest ever to do, right?
Yeah, and everybody tries to do a little difference of a rendition on it. Some people.
No, it's the national anthem. It needs to be the national anthem.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. I definitely agree. Okay, so, my question for Pat. Okay, Pat, let's go off of my comedy. Do you want me to do stand-up? What are your thoughts on the stories I've told you and the people that I've dated? You don't know all the stories, but do you think the world could actually take dating comedy and humor today? Or would you say don't do it?
I think the world would take offense to it, but, you know, if the people are what you're saying they are, then I guess that doesn't really matter. You know, I mean, your reputation, you know, as a human being is, you know, how you treat people and how you act and stuff. So if you're not treating people good and you're not acting appropriately, then, you know, there might be some comedy shows about you.
Yeah. And I never use names. So.
Yeah, that's good. You shouldn't use names.
No, because my thing is like maybe they've, because it's not a clap back. It's not an eye for an eye. It's hey, I had 2 choices. I think everybody has a crossroad in abuse or pain or any type of adversity. You have 2 choices. You can succumb to it and let it be like a tidal wave over you, or you can find the comedy in it, find the lesson. And I don't know, I just found ways to laugh at really dark situations and to bring light to them and try to help people get through it. So, you know, I listen back to stuff and it makes me laugh and I'm like, I can't believe I said that. But at the same time, I know that I'm coming from a place of, you know, I found a way to get through it, and comedy was a big part of that. And I think if the world laughed a lot more, we'd be a lot better off. I think we forgot how to laugh, and I think that's why we're so uptight. So I think we need to learn to laugh and learn that we all go through stuff. I mean, everybody goes through stuff. It's just a lot of people don't talk about it.
Yeah, and I think that maybe today, people aren't, the sarcasm or the humor is more mean than it was before.
Yeah.
You could joke around with each other, and now it seems to be hurtful more than joking.
Yeah, well, and I think people too is like, people are upset now, you know, and so that kind of comes out differently. And I think, and because I've watched some comedy shows where I just thought somebody was angry. And then there's other comedy shows where you're like, oh, okay, that's funny. But some people just look like they were upset. I mean, Chris Rock, I give him credit for sticking up for himself. I don't know if I would call, I don't know if it was funny, but I mean, when he did his comedy show and he stood up to Will Smith and Jada, I applaud him for standing up for himself, and I applaud him for not being afraid. Was it comedy? I don't know. I mean, was it funny? I don't know. So it was more of a statement than it was comedy. So, but I think a lot of comedy comes through pain. You know, I know that a lot of mine has come through healing from pain, and not until you're healed can you really make the joke. So, yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's something that I dance with all the time. Christy, you'll have to hear some of it off the air. Tell me what you think. But Pat knows a lot of it, and Pat will look at me and she'll just be like, "You're crazy." It's like, but it's true, and she's and Pat knows. I mean, she knows this stuff has happened. So, you know, people. What is there? There's a movie called Runaway Bride, and I didn't have that happen, but I did have somebody run away with a ring, and you know what, Christy? How about we get your thoughts on this before we go today? If you're dating someone and you ask them to marry you, and you realize it's not a good choice, and then you guys break up, does the woman deserve to keep the ring and do whatever she wants with it when she's cheated, she's lied, she's wasted your time, and then she runs with the ring? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely no. Absolutely not. No way.
Okay. So my second question
but Dan,
yeah,
you know what? That might be a small price to pay to get rid of that person for the rest of your life.
Amen.
So we have to think, the first knee-jerk reaction is absolutely no.
Yeah.
But then, like 2 seconds of thought, you know what? That might be a cheap way to be done. So
no, it is. And I totally agree with you wholeheartedly. Second question, will you come on a special ops mission with me to go pick the ring up? I'm kidding. So no, it's funny. Everybody was like, don't you want it back? And I said exactly what you said. I said, to get away from crazy, there is no amount of money that I would go and recoup for peace and to get away from a very volatile situation. So when they're like, oh, aren't you mad that you lost the money? I said, I'll make that money back. I said, God will help me make that money back. And I already have. It was quick. I made it back. So it's not about the money, but it was a unique situation for sure. And Pat can attest to a lot of those days. So with that being said, for Pat Orr, boxing photographer and PB&J's Lunchbox owner, that we're so happy to have, PB&J's Lunchbox, 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. It's buffalo chicken anything for Christy, and it's shrimp all day for me, as well as that taco salad I just had, which was awesome as well. So many great things.
It's Taco Tuesday, right?
It is Taco Tuesday. What are we doing, Pat, today?
Today we're doing a Bang Bang Chicken Crunch Wrap.
Bang Bang Chicken, and I've had the Crunch Wrap before. Crunch Wrap is good. I think I had a beef one before. So Crunch Wrap for Taco Tuesday. Every Taco Tuesday changes at PB&J's, so get out there today. 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. It should be your every Taco Tuesday, and know that they change weekly. And for Christy Salters Martin, the International Boxing Hall of Famer, promoter, and the obviously keeper of Christy's Champs, to help and spread messages on how to help people going through domestic violence and domestic abuse. So many great things that we're doing. And as Christy alluded to, the three of us will be making a big announcement soon on what it's going to be like to do even more together. And now that we've had this conversation, I think when we make this announcement, I need to be wearing an S on my chest. So with that,
there you go.
With that being said, Christy, Pat, and of course for Eric Bottjer as well, thank you for always making the conversation so much more than simply boxing. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
We'll talk with you all soon, and we're going to take a step aside here for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. This has been Christy's Corner, and we appreciate you for being here with us every other Tuesday. Christy's Corner coming to you every other Tuesday, bi-monthly segment on Wake Up Call, exclusively brought to you by PB&J's Lunchbox on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, and Christy's Corner with Christy Salters Martin, Pat Orr, and we have had special guests all throughout these many months. You can go back and watch our videos on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and of course, you can go to our we're going to be adding the audio version and there's actually one up there right now that you can go and listen to. So Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube, as well as Boomplay, Podchaser, and more. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, to get our content, including Christy's Corner episodes, so make sure you do that. Shout out to Oneida. I know we got people out there that are watching and listening this morning, so many thanks to you and much appreciation. I was just out in Oneida recently, and beautiful area. Great place to take a ride, and my dad and I got to do that, and we had some fun. So, with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we'll get you set for the ingredients to success and wrap up the show right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to K9 Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and appreciate you being here with us where sports meets life. Inside of ModPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Of course, every other Tuesday, we're here with our bi-monthly segment featuring Christy Salters Martin, the International Boxing Hall of Famer and current promoter, as well as the person who brings us Christy's Champs that helps with domestic violence and domestic abuse information, and just being a resource and a place to help people know that they're not alone. Christy Salters Martin joined us today inside of Christy's Corner. Of course, Pat Orr, boxing photographer and the owner of PB&J's Lunchbox on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, a proud partner of Wake Up Call and a place with fantastic food, be it breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The food is incredible, so make sure you get out there today and enjoy some amazing food that tastes unlike anywhere else that I go, which is why I go to PB&J's so much, and I love it so much. So big ups to PB&J's. And of course, Eric Bottjer, our special guest today, a boxing matchmaker and historian, and in the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. And he was inducted in 2016, so big shout out to him for being a fellow Hall of Famer as well. So God bless to Eric, and happy to have him on the show. With that being said, we're exactly at 10:50 a.m. Eastern Time. Look at how that was timed. That's all God, not me. The ingredients to success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicoli's. Avicoli's coming to us, and so happy to have Avicoli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, right down the road from Liverpool High School. Very easy to get to, within walking distance from the high school, right down the road on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road at 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. And they can come to you as you have the opportunity to go there for catering as well as takeout and delivery by calling 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100 to get in touch with the wonderful and amazing local restaurant, Avicoli's. Fantastic veal margarita pizza, the barbecue chicken pizza, their salads, so many great things, their pastas with the shrimp on it, and just everything. Everything is just go to Avicoli's. It's so good. And this is coming from an Italian to you. So make sure you get out to Avicoli's today and enjoy what so many people have loved for decades, our neighbor here in our wonderful community. Can't wait to see you out at Avicoli's. So much appreciation for that. It is the home of our Liverpool Warriors monthly broadcast as well. And so we're on site on location with Liverpool High School and the Warriors every month throughout the year, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. With that being said, the ingredients to success is topic for today. For the ingredients to success, I would say treat others the way you want to be treated, right? It's the golden rule, but so many of us don't do it. So I would say here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, that for me, this morning and every morning, let's talk about treating others how we want to be treated, the golden rule. You know, I alluded to it earlier in the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, that we live in a society right now where people say, accept me. And then you say, okay, well, accept me too. And they go, no. And and you kind of sit here and say to yourself, wait a minute, you want me to accept you for who you are? Yeah. Even though I don't understand it. Right. Even though I may not agree with it. Yep. But are you going to accept me? No. Why? Because I don't understand it and I don't agree with it. Wait a minute. That's hypocrisy. So that to me, I mean, it could be the annoying moment of the week. It's also the ingredients to success. Because living in a society where people are constantly asking to be understood, but they're not willing to understand. See, I talk to people that are different than me. I talk to people that are different sexual orientation. I'm a man. I like to get opinions of women, get their thoughts. So from a man to a woman, from a Catholic to people that are Jewish or other Christian or Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist or agnostic or atheist, I'll sit down with people and say, why do you believe what you believe? What are your thoughts? Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Okay, you come from a different culture, a different background. You speak a different language. I've put myself in situations in my life where I'm around people that speak different languages. They come from different countries, that have different sexualities, that have different likes and dislikes, money. Because I want to know as much as I can about the world. Because to fully understand something, you have to know as much information as you can, right? You know, you can't, when I was in, I think it was third grade, I had to do, it was third or fourth grade, I had to do a paper on Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American Supreme Court Justice. Now, if I did a little bit of information, right, if I looked up his birthday and where he went to school and his wife's name, that's some information, but that's not everything, right? And am I going to know everything about Thurgood? No, I don't know Thurgood. And even if I knew Thurgood, you don't know everything about everybody. They're the only person that knows everything about themselves. It's them and God. But if I'm seeking to understand Thurgood Marshall and understand his story, I should know as much information as I can. And I think in today's society, if we want to have ingredients to success of treating others how we want to be treated and actually make society better, then I would say that we need to start seeking to understand, and not just to be understood, but seeking to understand, right? To learn about people, to learn about what makes them tick. Like, what if you had never been around anyone of a different color for your first 14 years of your life? Does it mean you should do that for the next 14 years? Or should you be open? Maybe you don't want to learn another language, but you could learn a few words to help the new person in your school feel welcome. Surprise them in a good way. You might live in a big house. Somebody else might live in a small apartment. Does that make them a worse person than you? Does that make you not want to hang out with them? Because that happens. Oh, he looks different. I want to talk to him. Oh, she lives in a crummy old apartment. Her family's poor. I can't be seen with her, right? You hear people say that stuff. So I think if we really want people to understand us and give us a chance and love us, we need to start giving that. We need to start providing that. You know, like I said earlier in the show, hypocrisy to me is one of the greatest sins of humanity. It's do as I say, not as I do. I want you to take me as I am, but I refuse to take you as you are. And I find it so scary and concerning that we're in a society where the people that are begging to be understood are also terrorizing people that they're not like. And there's people in this world that feel oppressed or neglected or forgotten. And as they're fighting to be seen, they're trying to hide other people. It's almost like, let's take this person let's take this group out of oppression. Let's put this other group in. Let's take these people that we're discriminating against and stop discriminating against them, but let's find another group to discriminate against. Let's take this color and make it good and take that color and make it bad. Let's make this sexuality important, but let's make this one feel like it's wrong because this one used to feel like it was wrong. I just feel like I don't think anybody should be oppressed. I don't think anybody should be discriminated against. I don't think anybody should be ridiculed and physically abused or verbally abused for being who they are at their core. I could never imagine going up to a Muslim and hating them because I'm Catholic. I could never imagine going up to a woman and saying that they don't deserve to vote or to have equal pay. I could never imagine enslaving somebody of any color or any descent or any background. And so my life does not consist of, oh, you're different, well, then I hate you. I don't believe in that. But what I find to be really concerning in today's world is that I feel like now almost everybody feels discriminated against in a way or attacked. And I find that there's people that are attacking people while in the same breath asking no one to ever bother them. Don't attack me. I'm in a bubble, but I'm going to attack you. Don't shoot me, but there's a bullet in your chest and it came from my gun. And it's really as simple as hypocrisy. Some of the people that are demanding to be understood don't want to understand. Some people that are demanding to be treated kindly are so mean. And what type of example does that show to our kids that are sponges? That as long as you're like me and you look like me and you sound like me and you do what I do and you believe what I believe, we could be friends. But if you're different in any way, we can't be. If we believe in the same things and we make the same amount of money, but you're a different color, we can't be the same. If you believe in the same things that I believe in and we come from the same city, but we have different sexualities. We're not the same. You know, I can't say that all women are bad because I dated some women that treated me poorly. That would be grouping, and that's wrong. Just like a woman couldn't say to me, well, I dated an Italian guy and you happen to be Italian and he was really mean and he cheated on me and I think all Italians are cheaters. Well, that doesn't even make sense. So I find that the ingredients to success to repair America, because it is broken, no matter what we say, in order to repair America, hypocrisy needs to be a forgotten thing. Not a forgotten thing. It needs to be a lost art. We need to lose it. We need to lose it and keep it lost. I think we just need to be happy with who we are and comfortable in our own skin and stop feeling like everybody's a threat. See, I don't see man, woman, gay, straight, black, white, money, no money, this country, this language, that religion, this religion. I don't see that. Because the only people I don't like are people that I consider, the two words, and I'm not going to say the swear word, but I'll say the abbreviation, a diligent a-hole. Somebody who gets up every single day and says, I'm going to try and ruin people's lives. I'm going to do everything I can to make somebody mentally unstable, physically unstable, emotionally unstable. I'm going to question them. I'm going to attack them. I'm going to nitpick them. I'm going to be like a tick under their skin. Those are the only people I don't like because I don't understand. And those people are broken. Because nobody does that to people when you're happy and you love yourself. You got to really not love yourself to treat people like that. And I pray for those people that they do love themselves so that not only they stop hurting people, but so they stop hurting themselves. I'm speaking a lot of reality to people right now, and you might have shut me off. I hope you didn't. But there are right and wrongs in life. Some things are simple. And I think we've clouded what right is, and we've clouded what wrong is. And I think we've made everything gray. And that's not a good place to be in. Because there are crimes, there are bad words, there are prejudice and things we shouldn't do and say, and they're not up for debate. You should never call a nationality or a background by a derogatory name. There are derogatory names for many cultures. Being Italian and Hispanic, there are derogatory names that we consider very hateful. And I'm sure every culture has it. So I don't like when a man tells me he doesn't feel welcome in today's America. I don't like when a woman tells me. I don't like when someone who's black, blue, brown, white, tan tells me that. I don't like when someone of one religion feels like they're not welcome in their community. I don't like when somebody says, this is who I love and this is who I want to marry. And people discriminate against them. Yeah, I think if someone's a loving, caring person, let them be. Right? There's so many criminals out there, and anarchy is a real thing. And putting people into groups is the way that anarchists take over. And you think that it's not happening, but it is happening. Because the more they can make you hate somebody that's different than you, the quicker we can get to anarchy and the quicker we can get to lack of control and fear ruining the day. Division is how you conquer a house. Turn brother against brother, sister against sister. So I want to read something to you that I put out on Flag Day. Because it's from my heart and I want to read it to you. I put it up on all my social media. And it's a poem that I wrote. And this is how it goes. There once was a time we fought with each other. Sister versus sister, brother versus brother. We let things divide us and turn us sour. destroying what we built like the withering of a flower. We refuse to see we are more similar than different, failing to give each other fair and equal treatment. We allowed certain sources to manipulate us into thinking that we were swimming, when in reality, we were sinking. Fast forward to now, as we have seemed to lose our grasp once more on what is reality as opposed to folklore. We are a nation that used to be a beacon of light to those everywhere that felt trapped by the night. To be that once again will take us all. Being divided more and more into groups will only expedite our fall. So be conscious of what happens around you and be willing to take a stand. When someone falls, lend a helping hand. For freedom can be taken away as it has been before, and hurting one of us should affect all of us to our core. This country is meant to be a home of faith, hope, light, joy, and compassion. We cannot implode from within, but we will if we take no action. Be good to each other. Be kind. Seek to understand and not just to be understood. Be proud. Be happy. Be open. Be welcoming. Compromise where you can, and where you can't, kindly and respectfully stand up for what you believe in. We are so similar. Cancer doesn't discriminate, right? COVID didn't discriminate. What do those things prove? That we're all human. Different languages, different backgrounds, different countries, different religions. Yet, how do we show somebody we love them? In every culture, we kiss them, hug them. We all procreate the same way, right? We bring life into the world the same way. When we're sad, we cry, all of us. When we're angry, we grit our teeth. All of us. There are so many things that show us every day we are the same. We are the same. We are the same. Do not let people put you into a group. And stop putting people into groups. And stop being mad at everybody that doesn't look like you and sound like you and act like you. We are all different. And you cannot ask someone to love you if you are hating them. And you can't say, well, I've been hated for so long that now I have a right to hate everybody else. No, because now you become the evil that you didn't like. Hate begets more hate. Violence begets more violence. Only love and only light and only goodness and only kindness can heal hate. Hate will never destroy hate. Darkness will never destroy the darkness. Only light, only love can do that. So don't be a hypocrite. Remember the golden rule. And learn how to love. And just be kind. Just be kind. This world is missing a lot of big hugs. And it could change today if we all hug somebody. So, don't think you can't change the world for the better. Remember, you can change it for the worse. And whatever road you choose, you are directly responsible for. So be a good person. Be kind. And remember, we all come from a God who asked us not to judge each other. The ingredients to success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicoli's. 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Head out there today, Tuesday through Sunday. They're closed on Mondays. For lunch, dinner, and drinks. Drink responsibly. Weather's nice. They have an outdoor area, so you can sit outside, on the casual pizza side, at the bar, or at the fine dining. 4 different ways to enjoy Avicoli's, all in one place. 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Down the road from Liverpool High School, within walking distance, and available for takeout, delivery, and catering by calling 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. We'll be back right after this fast break.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Happy to be here every Monday through Friday with you from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets life. And, of course, you're with us on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, both / Wake Up Call DT, wakeupcalldt.podbean.com as well. And, of course, you can find us on the homepage of wakeupcalldt.com, where the Podbean feed is embedded for you to listen to live internet streaming radio right from our website on wakeupcalldt.com every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Once the shows go live, they jump to the archive on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Podchaser, Boomplay, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, and Stitcher. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, on your favorite podcasting platforms and find us there. A big thanks to our incredible partners. Pardon me. Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, PB&J's Lunchbox, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, K9 Camp Dog Daycare, Mother's Cupboard, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Great Lakes Honda City, Chick-fil-A Watertown, Avicoli's, K9 Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, 317 at Montgomery Street. The name of the location is the name of the restaurant, 317 at Montgomery Street in downtown Syracuse. Make sure you head to Carvel DeWitt for my signature sundae. You'll only find in one Carvel in the entire world, Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. My sundae called the DT Dolphin, which is an ode to the Lemoyne Dolphins that are right down the road from Carvel DeWitt. And it is mint chocolate chip ice cream, green for the Dolphins. And, of course, I love chocolate chips. And you'll also get hot fudge, whipped cream, and a cherry, green and gold sprinkles for Lemoyne College, and topped off with a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. The DT Dolphin, exclusive to Carvel DeWitt. And go and get it today. And Mother's Cupboard having the exclusive Wake Up Call sandwich. My sandwich is on site, on location, at Mother's Cupboard, 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. daily, 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. The Cuse McMother is what I call it, the Cuse McMother, and you can go and get the Cuse McMother on site at Mother's Cupboard, staple to Syracuse, New York is Mother's Cupboard. It is my spin on the breakfast sandwich. Bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast with cinnamon and sugar. You can have it with syrup, cut it up and eat it that way, or pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Any way you do it, thank you for supporting local at Mother's Cupboard. And we are the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call. Every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time is Dolphin Time. First and third Wednesday of each month, AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Second and fourth Wednesday, the Dolphin Dive, diving into the stories of student athletes, coaches, future Dolphins, and alumni, as well as administration. You do not want to miss what's coming up tomorrow on our all-new Dolphin Dive, as I have an opportunity to dive deeper into the story of Isaiah Salter, and we talk about a lot of things. We get into life in so many different ways and speak on so many different pieces. I am honored, I am privileged, I am excited to be sharing that with you, and it's in such a unique way that we've never done the Dolphin Dive before, so make sure that you come out and hang out with us on all of our feeds tomorrow morning to see Isaiah Salter in a very, very special Dolphin Dive edition, which I can't wait to share with you. For all of our content with the Dolphins, go to the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, subscribe to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and for more information on your Dolphins, go to lemoynedolphins.com. As always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can find your Bobcats every single month right here where sports meets life. The Bobcats coming to you in the Bobcat Buzz, student athletes, administration, as well as coaches coming to you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in a way that you have never seen or heard from them before. I am so honored and thankful, as well as very privileged, to have the Bobcats here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. An all-new Bobcat Buzz came to you yesterday featuring the head coach of the esports program, Brian Yurton. You could definitely go check that out on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. While you're there, click subscribe, and on Facebook, click follow. And of course, be with us every single month on our social media to find out what's coming up next with the Bobcats, as we have some really cool ideas and things you've never seen before on their way and things that we've already done. So the Bobcats are on the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. For more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And of course, go Bobcat Nation. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I have changed my shirt in the studio, and this has to do with the big news that's coming up tomorrow, Wednesday, June 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Wake Up Call, Superpowered Pop, Comic Book Trails, Do Diz with Dan, Two Mics No Filter, and everything we do at Dan Tortora Broadcast Media will combine for something that has never been done before with my company. Every one of our brands together. For what? Find out. Wednesday, June 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. On Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. In the meantime, thanks to Christy, Pat, and Eric. Thanks to Avocolis for the ingredients to success. And thank you to you for watching and listening all over the world. God bless. No stress.